What's up, guys? Needsman here, coming at you with my first Edison deck profile. I believe I've done some classic, actual SJC Edison tops, but I haven't done any for like a modern incarnation of Edison format, and he seems to be getting really popular lately, and we've been playing it a lot on the channel, as you guys have seen. So I wanted to go through my Lightsworn list here just to get you guys something to take a look at here. I haven't done a deck profile in quite some time, so I definitely want to hop in here and take a look at my Lightsworn list. I played this list quite a bit, and it's gone through a few changes and iterations, but this is kind of what I wanted to go through. A big thing to note, if you are thinking about going to an Edison tournament, whether online or in person, it is important to note that if Lightsworns are expected to be represented at the event, you probably shouldn't play it because people are going to be side decking light mirrors. I know that there was an online Edison event where a couple Lightsworn decks did really well, and I noticed that there was a large lack of light imprisoning mirror in the side decks. So I just wanted to make that kind of a note that that card is crippling for this deck, but it is really the only super crippling card outside of some really anti-meta style macro decks. So let's get right into the list. Of course, we have the obligatory 2 copies of Judgment Dragon. This is a pure Lightsworn list. This is not like a Twilight list focused around Caius or whatever. Our goal is to summon Judgment Dragon, so we are going to play 2 of our boss monsters. It is important to note that with our side deck, your opponent is going to be trying to do their best to deny you this card, especially with the popularity of DD Crow. So when you go into your side deck, try and expect to maybe not hit this game 2 and 3 and try and get to it as early as you can game 1. Of course, the 1 of Lumina. We are only allowed to play 1 copy, of course, in Edison format in March 2010, so unfortunately we have to do what we can to protect our 1 copy of Lumina. 2 Lylas for popping back row. Again, this is kind of the way to clear our way for our Judgment Dragon. I don't think 3 is necessary. I've seen some Twilight lists play 3, which is perfectly fine because of that list you're just playing 3 Ryko, 3 Lyla, and your goal is like a kind of like Cast Dragons if you've ever played that format. That's kind of the Twilight version of this deck, but we're not going to be focusing on that. Of course, the best Lightsworn in the format, 3 Ryko. This is one of the staple cards of Edison, 3 Ryko. It's probably one of the best cards. The best monsters, of course, are Ryko and Caius. We don't play Caius, of course, in this list. Again, this isn't the Twilight build, but 3 Ryko, it's the best Lightsworn monster. 1 copy of Garoth. If we had multiple Luminas, we would be able to capitalize on playing more Garoth to do that Lumina Garoth opening thing. Unfortunately, we do not have access to it. We do play some other warriors. I played 2 copies of Jain. This card is really good at beating over Thunder King, and then other like 1900 anti-meta monsters and things like that. You can tie with Cyber Dragon, and that could put that 4th name in there. And then 1 copy of Ehren. I actually don't play Rhoda, despite having the double Jain and like the warrior monsters. The deck's issue was never seeing monsters. It's getting cards into your graveyard fast enough and getting the deck going and getting enough names into the graveyard. So that's why I like the main deck Ehren regardless. It's not just another name here. Ehren here in this matchup is really good for hitting like breaking up the frog stuff and putting stuff back into the deck that they want. Set Sangans. If it makes your opponent really think about bringing back a Treeborn Frog as like a chump blocker because you can just spin it back to the deck. So that's why I really like Ehren in this. It's really good in that frog matchup. 1 Aurkus. This kind of is another name, but it does protect your monsters from cards like Icarus Attack, and it prevents your opponent from Luminating in the mirror, but it also locks you out of Lumina, so it is important to note that if you're going to use Aurkus, because it is both players not being able to be targeted. 2 copies of Celestia. I'm not maxing out on 3. I feel like this card can just brick really easily if you have a hard time maintaining presence on the board. With Gladiator Beast playing Icarus Attack, and you see that, and Blackwing's playing Icarus Attack, it is pretty difficult to keep your monsters on the board because you can't protect them with Honest and Necro Gardna that way. So Celestia is a little bit more difficult to get off, but I wouldn't want to play just one of it because I feel like having that extra name and having an extra just Lightsworn monster, and it is a high impact card when it hits the board, and it is a really good top deck if you're in a position to win the game. And then the last Lightsworn, 2 Wulf. 3 again, I just feel like it just kind of clogs at 3. It just doesn't feel that great. And then just it as another name. The more you're able to mill, the better Wulf is. So in like earlier formats, like September 09, Wulf would be much better even if you wanted to play it at 3. And even then you probably wouldn't just because you have more cards that you would want to play, like multiple charges and multiple trags and things like that. Again, 2 Honest, our battle trap to protect our guys. Make sure we always win every battle. Keep our Lightsworns alive. Especially, this is one of the ways we can use to protect our Lumina from battle. 1 Card Trooper. Milling in the main phase, I feel, is really important. Yeah, it's bad to mill this card, but I really do want to try and mill in the main phase and just try and see if we can get that Wulf or, get that extra name that we need to go off. So Card Trooper, I feel, is really important. Some good stuff for milling. 1 Necro and 1 Plague. Plague is our tuner again. We only allowed the 1 Necro and the 1 Plague. I just feel like these are just like 2 cards that are just too important not to play. I wish you could obviously play more Necro Gardnas. And with the dark count being as low as it is, with only the 1 Gorz and the 1 Trag, these being the only dark monsters, I did cut Chaos Sorcerer from the deck. I just felt like it didn't have enough utility to be included. I was like, okay, I can make Chaos Sorcerer the 41st card, and I decided I didn't like it. And then I was like, okay, maybe I can make Hamster the 41st card, or Row to the 41st card, and it just didn't feel right with those cards included. Like, I just felt like I wanted the deck to just go as fast as possible, and I wanted good cards to mill as well. So this is the reason that the ratios are what they are. But that is it for the monster lineup. Unfortunately, I just couldn't get Chaos Sorcerer to really be good. I mean, you can side deck it because we do side deck a fair amount of dark monsters, and I did think about doing that, and that is an option if you are going to go that route. There's 1 card in my side deck that could easily be Chaos Sorcerer. But we'll get into the spells here. Of course, our 1 Charge of the Lightbrigade. With only having 1 copy, I wouldn't shotgun this card unless you're like for sure this is what you want. I just want that to be. It is really important. It is not wrong to hold this card if you feel the card that you need would be more useful later on, or you want to see how the game state develops to see whether or not you want to activate this. Because there are times where, okay, I might need a Lyla later, or I might need a Jain to get rid of this Thunder King or something like that. So I've always felt like Charge, if you don't need to shotgun it if you don't need to. Lumina isn't always the best option. You never know when you're going to be like, okay, now I have Judgment Dragon, now it's time to go get a Lyla, clear the back row, and things like that. Or go get a Jain to clear the Thunder King to get my Judgment Dragon on the board, and things like that. 3 copies of Solar Recharge. It's so important to see this card as often as you possibly can. Just because, like I said, you need to get through your deck. You need to get through as quickly as possible, which is also a reason we play 2 copies of Gold Sarcophagus. Again, it's important to be able to just guarantee you put that Judgment Dragon out there. Again, Judgment Dragon isn't always the option. There is a time where you don't feel like you might be able to get 2 Judgment Dragon in a game, and it's really difficult to maybe, you're not sure. It's like, okay, I don't know if I want to go for this Gold Sarc, if I want to go for this Judgment Dragon, if I want to go for maybe Heavy Storm, something a little bit more out of the box. Maybe I want to go for a Charge of the Lightbrigade because I need to start milling in my main phase. So, it is important to keep your options open. 1 copy of Foolish Burial. Some decks don't run this card. I think you should run Foolish Burial. I think it's important to either have free fodder for a Wulf or just that extra name that is like dump Aurkus because it's probably the least useful one, and just put that in the graveyard. 1 copy of Monster Reincarnation. I like this in the 2 Beckoning ratio ever since it was introduced in French Twilight in the format before in 09. I just felt like that's been the ratio, and it's a really solid ratio for me. 1 copy of Brain Control. Pretty generic card here. If you play a tuner, you could play Brain Control. It's better with Caius, but again, if you need to just take a monster off the board, Brain Control, Stardust, and tribute it for Celestia, you can. 1 copy of Heavy Storm, and 1 copy of Cold Wave I decided to go with over MST. I feel like Cold Wave has a bit more high impact, because we don't necessarily need our spells, and we can just go, okay, Cold Wave, Judgment Dragon, like that's obviously like you're the Starlight Road fear is completely blown out whenever we can do Heavy Storm, Cold Wave, or Cold Wave in Judgment Dragon instead of like an MST or a Heavy Storm or something like that. So the ability to like not fear that Starlight is really important, especially in games 2 and 3, because if they're not main decking it, some people will side deck the Starlight Road, because it is a popular card to side deck against a card like Icarus Attack, which is pretty common in the format. And that's it for the spells here. And we'll move on to the traps. There are only 5. It's pretty easy. Like I said, the 2 Beckoning Lights. This is, again, the ratio that I prefer, the 2 Beckoning, 1 Reincar. 1 copy of Trap Dustshoot, because I feel like this card is so high impact. And it's an easy side out if you're going second. And then we'll get through the sideboard and kind of see what we need to do here. And then how we side. And then I played 2 copies of Threatening Roar. I just feel like this card is really good at protecting Lumina. Like I said, we don't have those extra Necro Gardnas. So again, this is another way to make Celestia live. This would be a valid card to play if you wanted to play 3 Celestia. Threatening Roar is, if you're like, I really like 3 Celestia in this format, then Threatening Roar is a really good option that you should consider putting in, just again because you can normal summon a Lightsworn monster, mill, and then protect it from battle. And then, again, this card is also really good against Gladiator Beasts to prevent them from tagging and things like that. So, that's the reason I like Threatening Roar. We'll get on to the extra deck here real quick. Nothing too crazy at all, really. 1 copy of Armory Arm, generic 4. 1 copy of Catastor for 5, as well as a copy of Android. A copy of Goyo Guardian. This is probably the best 6. Brio as well. 1 copy of Tempest Magician. I feel like this card is really good because you can steal games with it. And then you have Lyla as a spellcaster. 1 Black Rose Dragon. And I'm playing X-Saber Urbellum as the other 7, but you can play Ancient Fairy Dragon. If you feel like you're going to run into Gravekeepers in order to get rid of Necro Valley. I have seen Gravekeepers catch a little bit of an uptick recently. But I don't think that deck's too overbearing. But I guess because you have stuff that outspy. So the 1 copy of Stardust Dragon, that's the most standard 8. Colossal Fighter. We do have Warriors to make this bigger. And then, of course, the battle stuff, being able to revive it. 1 Thought Ruler. 1 Dark End. If again, this is just for like brain control and things like that because we don't play the Chaos Sorcerer anymore. But there's so many Caiuses in the format with the Plaguespreader. Because this is a prize card and some places don't allow jump prize cards, my friend group typically doesn't like to play with them, but it seems like the whole Edison format community is on board with Dark End Dragon being in the format. But if your group is not, Red Dragon Archfiend is just fine. And again, Red Dragon Archfiend might be better if you don't want to play the Chaos Sorcerer again, and if you don't want to side the Chaos Sorcerer. Avenging Knight Parshath. It's a niche scenario, but it is really good to steal games again through like Treeborn Frogs and things like that. Mistworm, Staple 9, and then Chimera Tech for your gadget matchup. And we'll get on to the side deck. Again, like I said, we do set a lot of dark monsters, so there is the option to side deck your Chaos Sorcerer here if you want like a more aggro version. Of course, the 2 Deity Crows, it's really good. It's decent against Diva Hero. Anything that plays Mali, it's good against, of course, hitting Frogs out of the graveyard. Hitting Vayus out of the graveyard is really good in that. And not necessarily in the like the regular Blackwing matchup, all hitting Blizzard targets is really good. But in the Vayu Turbo matchup, it's really good. This 2 Breaker, I was originally playing 1 Breaker and 2 Thunder Kings, and I decided to go the other way around. Thunder King is the card that I believe could be Chaos Sorcerer if you wanted to go that route. I just feel like Breaker is really important to get rid of Light Imprisoning Mirror. That's why it's not a 3rd Lyla. He's like, why not just add a 3rd Lyla? Because Lyla cannot pop Light Imprisoning Mirror. Breaker can pop Light Imprisoning Mirror, so that's why I feel like it's important. Thunder King, I just feel like is a really good going first anti-meta card. And again, good against gadgets, along with our 2 copies of Cyber Dragon for our Chimera Tech. 1 copy of MST, just a generic removal against decks like Blackwings that are going to have Oppression and Whirlwind. MST is really good. I was playing a copy of Twister as well because, again, it's a card you can, if you draw it, you can immediately play it against a face-up Royal Oppression, a face-up Light Mirror, or anything other Floodgate that you might see, and it also can hit Black Whirlwind, so I liked it in that matchup. But in this deck, I like Lightning Vortex. Again, like I said, they're going to try and deny you Judgment Dragon game 2 and 3, so it's going to take a little bit longer. So if you need a mass clear card, this is really good. I feel like this card is good against the Dragon matchup. I haven't gotten to play against that matchup very much, and no one I know really owns those cards. But the fact that all they do is put out big monsters, and if they have like the red MD and the blue eyes, and you Lightning Vortex them when you don't have access to Judgment Dragon, I feel like that's really good because they have to use their red eyes to do it again, and that's pretty difficult. They have to have another red MD. 2 My Bodies for the mirror, and then maybe Ick Attack if you're feeling spicy. I try not to side more than maybe 4-ish cards per matchup, so this is mostly there for the mirror because we obviously can't side Light Mirror ourselves. 1 1 copy of System Down. This was probably like my last flex spot system, so I just decided to go with System Down. Again, high impact card. And then, of course, 3 copies of Royal Decree. We need our Royal Decree. If the deck you're playing against plays like 8 to 12 traps, I guess, maybe more. I guess 8 plus. This should probably go in unless you're expecting, again, the Light Mirror. We have to be able to play the game. I just feel like Royal Decree is just really important in those regards. Yeah, Judgment Dragon blows it up, but that way you can liven up your Beckonings. A lot of times you'll just take out the T-Roars and the Dustshoot for the 3 decrees, and then that's the way to go for me. Let me know what you guys think of the deck. Edison format's really fun. Be sure to comment down below any changes you guys might have, and thanks for watching, guys.